Okay, I'm going to pull this up, and here we go. This is just a thumbnail that I made. I made this, I don't know, about a month or so ago. Some of you have seen it, but yesterday I completed the animation. And the animation is pretty dead on. I'm going to go ahead and let it play, and then I'll explain it from there. So this would kind of be Earth's view. Now, in this animation, the only thing I couldn't get right was the rotation of the sun. Again, I am no animation expert, but what I was really keying in on was the eccentric and elliptical orbit of this object and its magnetic field and what it's doing to the sun and what the sun is doing to it. Okay? Now, you can see that this object drops way below the sun's ecliptic. I've mentioned that many, many times before. That's why we lose it. Okay? Once it comes down and it passes by the sun on its way down, that is at the end of the month. And then for the next week, going into the first week of every month, we don't see it. We don't see anything. No coronal mass ejections on the sun. Earthquake activity is at a low. Volcanic activity is at a low. And then, bingo, it makes its way up. Let me just back it up a little bit. And it makes its way to about right here at this point. That midpoint, that is one of the closest points when it's on its way back up. And that's where we see the coronal mass ejections. That's where we see the plasma being pulled from the sun. And if you pay attention to the red trail following behind the object, you can see that it's not always there. It is only there when it passes close by the sun. So it is either ejecting material, burn off, as it's passing by the sun, which could be gases, it could be actual material, and I want you guys to pay close attention to this. As that red tail whips by, remember, it's in a very fast orbit, and just the velocity is like a little spirograph. So when this object passes by on the way back up, it's literally whipping that tail of its magnetic field where? Straight towards the Earth, but only for a few days. And the Earth feels it. And the Earth feels it, and we can measure that by looking at the magnetopause and magnetosphere models. I've been saying for the last year, all of 2019, the solar wind, let me just start this back up. The solar wind has been so low. Where are all of these other impacts coming from? If the solar wind's so low, a particle release from the sun is minimal. Where are these impacts coming from? Well, here's your answer. You're looking at it right there. And I showed this to a few other people earlier today. They were like, oh, well, that could be Mercury. No, look, folks. Don't even think about Mercury. Don't even talk about Mercury, because Mercury is 48 million miles away from the sun. 48 million miles. Mercury does not come into play in this equation at all. This object is very, very close to the sun. I could only estimate maybe at its closest point, 500, 600,000 miles away. I don't know. We just don't have that data. We don't have that capability. It's just a guess. At its furthest point, as it goes down below the ecliptic, it may be 4 million miles, 5 million miles away. So as you see, Mercury never comes into play. Never. Even though Mercury's on a kind of a funny orbit like you see here, not as sharp, but Mercury's 48 million miles away, and this object's furthest point may be 4 or 5 million miles. So again, it never ever comes into play, and it never will. But you can see as that object passes by the sun, it is literally pooling plasma as the two magnetic fields interact, and on its way, it's literally just, whew, it's just like a big pinwheel. It's just pushing its magnetic field right at the Earth, but only temporarily. It's long enough to cause impacts and disturbances on our magnetic field here on Earth, combined with the interaction of the sun. So for people that, I don't know, that want to think that Nibiru's on its way in some 3,600-year orbit, well, you're going to have to throw that out the door at this point, because that's just not going to work. As far as Gil Broussard's hypothesis and his biblical prophecy and research, hey folks, it's just not going to work. You know, you could mention another one, this ridiculous Dave Dobbs object, which is nothing more than illuminated contrails or chemtrails in the sky from airplanes. There is absolutely nothing like this in the clouds and in the sky and atmosphere here on Earth. That would be literally impossible. Impossible. So a lot of these other people, I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're literally not telling you guys the truth. Either they are that ignorant that they don't know what they're doing, or they're just out there looking for some notoriety and something to do and maybe some YouTube views, but they are not involved in the deep science, and I would have to say they're really not interested in telling you the truth. Simple as that. I'm just about tired of getting the emails and the inbox messages and all of the questions, and I can't help it that you folks continue to watch their videos. But what you're looking at here, this is the first time that we actually have a pretty damn good view of how this object orbits the sun.